I stayed in it because I was good at it. That sentence took me a long time to recognize as a problem. For most of the time I was living it, it felt like the opposite of a problem. It felt like a reason. This is about a career I spent 9 years inside. I'll be specific about the mechanism, because the story itself is not unusual and the mechanism is the part worth examining. I had a manager named Claire. She was perceptive in the particular way that good managers are. She could identify what someone did well and she knew how to organize work around those capacities. She identified mine early. I was methodical, I was reliable, I produced results in situations that rewarded patience and process over instinct. She promoted me twice in 4 years. The promotions were earned, and I accepted them as confirmation that I was on the right path. That logic, promotion as confirmation, is where the trap was constructed. What a promotion confirms is that you are valuable to the organization in your current capacity. It does not confirm that the work is meaningful to you. It does not confirm that you want more of what you have been doing. It confirms fit from one direction only, theirs. It says nothing about yours. I did not understand this distinction for a long time. I understood competence as a signal. I was good at this, therefore this must be right for me. Claire's recognition reinforced that reading. Every positive evaluation was processed as evidence that I was where I should be. The feeling I was not tracking carefully was boredom. Not the acute boredom of someone who has nothing to do, but the chronic, low-level flatness of someone doing work that engages their skills but not their attention in any way that feels alive. I was technically present and psychologically elsewhere. I performed the role well. The performance required less of me every year as I became more proficient. And proficiency, it turns out, can hollow a thing out rather than deepen it. Claire offered me a 3rd promotion in year 7. I accepted. The work expanded in scope and contracted in the part that had once required my full engagement. I was managing process more than doing it, and I was good at that too, which made it worse in the specific way that competence traps always make things worse. The better you are at it, the more of it you receive, and the more of it you receive, the more of your time is occupied by the thing you are no longer sure you want. By year 9, I was performing a version of professional life that was externally coherent and internally empty. What finally shifted was a conversation I did not intend to have. A colleague in a different field asked me what I would do if I could not do what I was currently doing. The question was casual. My reaction to it was not. I felt something that I can only describe as relief at the premise. The idea that I could not continue was a relief. That told me something I had not found a way to tell myself. I left within 8 months of that conversation. The transition was not clean and not immediate and not without cost. But the first morning I spent doing work that engaged me in a way the previous work had not, I understood something clearly. Being good at a thing is not evidence that the thing is right for you. It is evidence that you have spent time and attention on it. That is all. The two facts, competence and fit, are related but not equivalent, and treating them as equivalent is a mistake you can make across an entire career. What I changed was not the industry or the function but the question I was asking. Not, am I good at this? But, does this require me, specifically, to show up in a way that feels like it costs me something real? Work that only requires your proficiency does not require you. It requires the skill set. You could be absent from it and the work would be the same. The work that requires you is different in texture. You know it when you're doing it because it is not comfortable in the same way. It demands something that proficiency alone cannot supply. That demand is not a warning sign. It is the signal you are looking for. Here is what I carry forward from this, and what I hope might be useful if you recognize any part of your own story in mine. The pattern I described does not operate because we are careless or unintelligent or unaware. It operates because it has a function, because it is doing something for us that we have not found another way to do. Staying in the wrong situation, staying silent when we should speak, not walking away when the door is right there. All of these behaviors persist because they are solving something, even if imperfectly. They are providing some version of comfort or protection or identity that we have not yet found a better way to provide. Understanding that function is the first move. Not judging the behavior, but asking honestly, what is this doing for me? What would I have to give up if I stopped? What am I afraid will happen if I make the change I know I need to make? Those questions do not dissolve the pattern automatically, but they make it visible in a new way. And visibility changes the relationship to the thing. When you can see what something is doing, you can start to choose whether you want it to keep doing it. The change that followed was not easier because I understood the mechanism. It was the same difficulty. But I went into it knowing what I was moving through rather than being entirely inside it without perspective. That perspective is what I want to pass on here. Not the specific story. The structure. The shape of how we stay in things longer than we should, how we look away from things we can see, how we tell ourselves the thing will change without giving it a mechanism for changing. You are not alone in this. It is not a character flaw. It is how the human nervous system manages uncertainty and fear. But you can do something different. The doing starts with the looking. Look at it. Directly. Honestly. Without the story that makes it easier to carry. And then decide what you want to do with what you see. That decision, fully conscious and fully yours, is the only kind that actually changes anything. There is also something I want to say about the specific moment of turning toward rather than away, the moment when you actually do the thing you have been not doing. Because that moment has a texture that I was not prepared for, and that I think is worth naming so you know what to expect when you reach it. It does not feel like relief. Not at first. The moment of change, of finally having the conversation, or walking away, or saying the thing, or making the decision, often feels worse before it feels better. There is a period of acute discomfort in which the old equilibrium has been disturbed but the new one has not yet settled. You have stopped managing the avoidance, which means the thing you were avoiding is now fully present, no longer softened by distance. That period is real and it is temporary. I want to say both of those things with equal emphasis. It is real, do not be surprised by it, do not mistake it for evidence that you made the wrong choice. And it is temporary, it has a duration, and that duration is almost always shorter than the years of management that preceded it. The other side of that period is different. Not perfect, change does not produce perfection. But different in the specific way of someone who has stopped spending energy on maintaining something and can now spend that energy somewhere else. The ambient cost disappears. The weight that you had normalized as simply the weight of life turns out to have been specific and removable. I have felt that release more than once. Each time it is instructive about how much I had been carrying that I didn't know I was carrying. You probably know what you're carrying. You just haven't decided to put it down yet. When you decide, it will be hard first and better after. That is almost always the order of things. And the better, when it arrives, is real. What I notice now, in the life I have after the story I told here, is a kind of attentiveness I didn't have before. Not anxiety, that's different. Anxiety is looking for the thing that might go wrong. What I have is more like a quiet, ongoing check-in. Am I here because I want to be? Am I saying what I actually think? Am I moving toward what matters or managing around something I haven't named? These questions don't produce constant disruption. Most of the time the answer is, yes, I am where I want to be, saying what I think, moving in the right direction. The check-in confirms what I thought. And that confirmation is itself valuable. It builds a different relationship with my own choices. They feel more like choices and less like things happening to me. On the occasions when the answer is different, when the check-in reveals an avoidance or a suppression or a staying too long, I try to act on the information faster than I used to. Not immediately, not impulsively. But without the elaborate deferral structure. Without the "I'll address this when the conditions are better." The conditions will not be better. They will be different. Different is workable. Better is a fiction. I am the only condition that changes. And I change through the practice of looking and then acting on what I see. That's the whole thing. The looking and the acting. Over and over. For as long as it takes. Which is your whole life. But a whole life spent actually inside it is worth more than a whole life spent at the edge of it, managing the view. I know which one I want. I think you do too.